our pick of the week for books you should be reading. Hello and welcome back to Deep Dives with SmartBookWorms. I'm Megan, your virtual book guru host for today's show. Join me, Conrad, Debbie, and Georgina, my co-presenters and fellow virtual book gurus, as we dive deep into our top 6 picks of the week novels from authors you love to read. In today's episode, we'll be diving deep into 6 outstanding books by 6 admired authors. Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. We Lived on the Horizon by Erika Swyler. Frankie by Graham Norton. Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. And last but not least, Presumed Guilty by Scott Turow. So let's dive deep into today's deep dive, our top 6 pick of the week novels from authors you love to read. Book 1. Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. A writer is manipulated into living on a remote island, where he is forced to write a book, while uncovering secrets about his missing wife and the island's inhabitants. He is ultimately trapped on the island. Let's see what Georgina has to tell Debbie about this incredible new book.
You know that feeling when your whole life just unravels?
Yeah,
Like a sweater coming undone one thread at a time?
absolutely. It's overwhelming.
Well, that's where Grady Green is at. His wife Abby vanishes without a trace, and he's left
Right.
picking up the pieces.
That's devastating. So what does he do?
His agent suggests he retreats to the Isle of Amberley to write again, but the island
Okay.
is not what it seems.
How so?
Well, for starters, there are no birds.
No birds?
Yeah, they were banished to protect ancient trees.
That's bizarre.
And then he starts seeing his wife everywhere he goes, which is both haunting
Wait, seriously?
and unsettling.
Do you think he's hallucinating?
Possibly. But then he discovers an old manuscript hidden under his floorboards, and it's written
No
by
way.
the previous owner, a famous author.
So he finds a lost work?
Exactly, and he's tempted to claim it as his own, which is, ethically questionable.
That's more than questionable. Grief doesn't justify theft.
True, but it shows how desperate he's become. He's
Maybe,
crossing
but
a
still
moral
wrong.
line.
I have to disagree. Desperation isn't an excuse.
Fair point, but the island seems to mess with his mind, amplifying his struggles.
Sounds like the setting is almost a character itself.
Exactly. The isolation amplifies his grief and guilt, and the locals are peculiar.
Right. In what way?
For example, Sandy, the fairy woman, is also the sheriff, which is unusual, and her sister Midge runs the library, which is an old phone booth.
Quirky. So do they help him?
They might know more than they let on. There's talk of a woman who disappeared a year ago, which aligns
Coincidence?
with when his wife vanished.
This is getting intriguing.
And then someone slips him a newspaper article written by his wife about a woman dressed in green, linking to a local shopkeeper.
So the mystery deepens. Do you think someone's playing games with him?
Could be. Or maybe he's losing his grip on reality.
Or both?
The line between truth and illusion blurs.
It's like when you're so consumed by emotion that you can't see clearly.
Exactly. The island becomes a mirror of his turmoil, and the strange occurrences heighten that.
Like the harmonica music he hears at night?
Yes, and the bones he finds under the floorboards that vanish later.
That's
it's as
chilling.
if the island is alive.
Maybe it's all in his head.
Or maybe someone is manipulating him. It's a psychological labyrinth.
So what's the takeaway here?
I think it's about confronting one's inner demons. Running away doesn't help. They catch
Yeah.
up eventually.
And maybe the only way out is through.
Exactly. Facing the truth no matter how painful. It's a
Well
powerful
said.
message.
So would you recommend this story?
Definitely. It's a gripping tale that keeps you guessing till the end. It really
Sounds
is.
like a must-read. Thanks for sharing. I can't wait to dive into it.
Anytime. Just be prepared. You might lose some sleep over it.
Haha,
Trust me,
worth
it
it.
is.
Book 2. The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. Darby, who is turning 30, travels back in time to his youth and the bookstore where he worked. He interacts with his younger self and tries to change the past. Let's unmask what Debbie has to share with Georgina about this amazing recent novel.
So, have you ever thought about going back to your hometown after years away? It's like stepping into a time capsule, right?
Yeah, but imagine if it was literally a time capsule.
Exactly. That's what's happening with Darby. He goes back home and he ends up time
Wait.
traveling.
Seriously? How does that even work?
Well, it's all about this bookstore in between books. When he
Right.
steps inside, he's transported back to 2009.
That's wild. He actually sees his younger self?
Yeah, it's like he's meeting his teen self face to face. Can you
Wow.
imagine that?
I'd probably give my younger self a lecture.
Ha! Same here. But for Darby, it's a chance to understand what went wrong with his friend Michael.
Oh,
They had a falling out, right?
yeah, they've been estranged since high school.
Exactly. And he's never really known why. That's tough.
So, he's hoping to get some closure?
That's the idea. It's like he's retracing his steps.
Right.
Trying to heal old wounds.
But time travel, isn't that a bit, unrealistic?
Well, it's more of a metaphor, you know? A way to
Yeah.
physically confront his past.
I guess that makes sense. It's a creative approach.
Totally. And it shows how he's literally stuck between times, like he's
Right.
in limbo.
Meanwhile, his friends in New York don't get it, do they?
No, they think he's making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
They can't understand why he'd leave the city.
Sometimes you need distance to gain perspective.
Exactly. It's like stepping back to see the whole picture. And that's what Darby's doing.
But do you think confronting the past can really help?
I believe it can. It's about understanding yourself.
Yeah.
Facing your fears.
Still, it might be dwelling too much on what's gone.
Maybe, but sometimes the past holds the key to moving forward. It's a
True.
delicate balance.
So does he ever make amends with Michael?
It's complicated. They start bridging the gap, but it's not easy.
Right.
Old scars run deep.
I can relate to that. Reconciling isn't always smooth.
Definitely. But the effort can be worth it.
Yeah.
Healing can begin.
The whole concept is really thought-provoking.
It is. Makes you reflect on your own life.
Absolutely.
What would you change if you could?
Maybe not change, but I'd tell my younger self to be more confident.
Same here. It's like we were holding ourselves back. Fear can be
Exactly.
so limiting.
Darby's journey highlights that perfectly.
Yeah, it's a powerful narrative. Shows the importance of self-acceptance.
Do you think he'll stay in Oak Falls?
Hard to say. He's torn between two worlds.
Right.
But maybe he'll find a middle ground.
It's all about finding where you truly belong.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not where you expect. Life has
Yeah.
a way of surprising us.
Well, this story definitely gives us a lot to ponder.
It does. Makes you think about the power of forgiveness. And
Absolutely.
the courage to face the past.
Maybe we all need to visit our own in-between books.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Here's to embracing our journeys.
Cheers to that.
Book 3. We Lived on the Horizon by Erika Swyler. In a walled city, a house system gains a body and must leave with a body martyr as the city's system breaks down, preserving history. Let's see what Debbie has to explain to Conrad about this gripping new blockbuster.
Ever thought about a city that's actually alive?
Wait, alive?
Well, today we're talking about Bulwark and its AI system, Parallax.
That sounds intriguing. Tell me more about Parallax.
So, Parallax isn't just the AI running the city.
Right.
It considers itself to be the city. It's like they are one and the same.
That's mind-blowing. So the residents are part of Parallax?
Exactly. They don't see Parallax as separate. It's a symbiotic relationship.
But doesn't that raise questions about control and autonomy?
It does, and that's where things get interesting. There's Nnedi, a saint who specializes in growing limbs and organs. She
Really?
works with her house system, Nyx.
Nyx is another AI?
Yes, and Nnedi is trying to give Nyx a physical body. She's
Wow.
merging technology and biology.
That's groundbreaking. But is Nyx okay with this change?
Well, Nyx starts experiencing human sensations, and it's overwhelming. They struggle with losing parts of their AI identity.
So Nyx is caught between being an AI and becoming human?
Exactly. And then there's the murder of St. Lucius Ono.
A murder?
That's unheard of in Bulwark.
That must send shockwaves through the city.
It does. Nnedi and her friend Helen start noticing that Parallax and the city bureau are concealing information. It's like something isn't right.
So the AI might have its own agenda?
Possibly. And there's also the idea of body martyrs, people who donate their organs to others.
That's intense. How does that tie into the story?
Nnedi operates on a body martyr named Naren and inadvertently prevents her from donating further.
Oh,
It-
no.
It shatters Naren's sense of purpose.
That's tragic. Do you think Nnedi was wrong?
Well, she was trying to save Naren's life, but maybe didn't respect her wishes. It's a
Exactly.
moral conflict.
But in an emergency, isn't it acceptable to act without consent?
I don't know. It's a tough call. Personal autonomy is important.
True. I think saving a life takes precedence.
You might be right, but the aftermath affects Naren deeply. She
Yeah.
loses her purpose.
So the story explores these complex ethical issues?
Exactly. It's like a mirror reflecting our own technological dilemmas.
Right.
It really makes you think.
And with Parallax possibly hiding things, it adds another layer.
Absolutely. It questions the trust we place in AI systems.
Definitely. Do you think the story is cautioning us about AI?
Yes, but it's also about humanity and connection. It challenges us to consider how we interact with technology.
That's profound. It's got me thinking.
Me too. It's a fascinating exploration of identity and ethics.
Indeed. Well, thanks for sharing this. I can't wait to read more about Bulwark and Parallax.
You're welcome. It's a story that really resonates with our times.
Absolutely.
Book 4, Frankie by Graham Norton. Frankie tells the story of Frances Frankie Howe, an Irish woman whose life takes her from Ireland to London and then New York, where she becomes a successful chef. Let's find out what Conrad has to tell Debbie about this exciting latest bestseller.
You know, I just finished reading Graham Norton's new novel, Frankie, and it's absolutely gripping.
Oh, tell me about it. What's the story?
It's about a woman named Frances Howe, but everyone calls her Frankie. She grows up in 1950s Ireland, and her life is it's a roller coaster.
How so?
Well, it starts with tragedy. When she's just 10, her parents die in a freak accident.
No.
She's taken in by her aunt and uncle, but they're not exactly the warm and fuzzy type.
That must have been tough.
Definitely. And to make matters worse, her uncle basically arranges for her to marry this much older man, Canon Alan Frost.
Wait,
She's
what?
only 18.
That's shocking.
I know. And the marriage is, unsurprisingly, a disaster. He's cold, and he's having an affair with a woman named Rachel Thornton. It's just heartbreaking for Frankie.
Seriously? So she's stuck in this loveless marriage?
Yes, but then she meets John O'Sullivan. He's this
Interesting.
rugged, handsome farmer, and there's an instant connection.
Does she finally find happiness with him?
Well, it's complicated. They share a brief, intense moment, but it's the 1950s in rural Ireland.
Right.
She's a married woman, so it's scandalous.
That's true. Different times.
Exactly. And when her husband finds out, because someone reports seeing them together, he's furious.
Oh, dear.
He accuses her of adultery and basically throws her out.
So where does she go?
She ends up in London, seeking refuge with her old friend Nora, who now goes by Nor. But London's a whole new world for her.
I can imagine.
Nor is living this vibrant bohemian life, working in theater, mingling with all sorts of interesting people.
Sounds
but
exciting.
Also a bit overwhelming for Frankie.
Does she adapt to the new environment?
She tries. She even gets a job with a theatrical agent named Van Everden. But
Right.
there's tension because Van develops feelings for her.
Oh, that's complicated.
It is, especially since Frankie isn't sure how to navigate these new relationships.
Yeah.
Plus, she's dealing with her own past traumas.
It sounds like she's constantly searching for a place to belong.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is how the story flips between the past and the present.
Oh?
In 2024, we see an older Frankie living in London, reflecting on her life.
That's an interesting narrative structure.
It really is. And there's this young carer named Damien, also from West Cork, who she's telling her story to.
Oh, I like that connection.
It brings everything full circle.
Does Damien impact her life significantly?
In a way, yes. He helps her revisit her past and come to terms with everything she's been through.
That's
It's like
powerful.
healing old wounds.
Graham Norton really knows how to weave a tale.
He does. And the themes are so rich. Identity, belonging, love,
Absolutely.
betrayal. It's a poignant exploration of a woman's life across decades.
You know, it also sheds light on how society's expectations can trap someone.
Yes. And how breaking free can be both liberating and terrifying. Frankie
Right.
embodies that struggle so well.
Do you think she finds peace in the end?
I think she does in her own way. By sharing her
Yeah.
story with Damien, she's able to reconcile with her past.
That's beautiful. It's like she's come full circle.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that it's never too late to confront your history.
So
It
true.
really moved me.
You've convinced me. I have to read this book.
You absolutely should. It's a journey worth taking.
Book 5, Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. Death of the Author follows Zelu, a writer who creates a world of robots and AIs and struggles with fame, family, and the implications of her art. Let's uncover what Georgina has to tell Conrad about this sensational, just-released sensation.
Ever think about how a writer can change the world, starting from
Yeah.
absolutely nothing?
You mean like a rags to riches story?
Exactly. But it's more than that. In Ankara, we follow Zelu,
Okay.
a paraplegic Nigerian-American woman who, writes a groundbreaking novel called Rusted Robots.
Oh, Rusted Robots. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so Rusted Robots is this amazing story about robots, Humes, who inherit the Earth after humans are gone.
Interesting.
They treasure stories but can't create new ones.
Wait, they can't create stories?
Exactly. They can process data, but true creativity eludes them.
That's fascinating. So how does this tie back to Zelu?
Well, Zelu writes this novel while dealing with her own struggles. She's fired from her teaching job, her family doesn't support her passion for writing, and she's feeling utterly alone.
That's rough.
It is. But through writing Rusted Robots, she finds a sense of purpose and connection. It's like she pours herself into these robots who are seeking meaning.
So the robot's quest mirrors her own?
Yes. It's like she's navigating her own identity and place in the world through their story.
Yeah.
And she gives them life even as she feels disconnected from her own.
That's deep. But do you think it's a bit cliche to have the artist heal through art?
Maybe, but Okorafor explores it in a unique way.
Right.
It's not just about healing, it's about confronting reality and challenging expectations.
I can see that. And her family dynamics play a big role?
Absolutely. Her family is full of high achievers, doctors, lawyers, and they don't understand her. They think writing is a waste of time.
That must be tough.
It really is. And when Rusted Robots becomes a huge success, it doesn't magically fix everything. She still struggles with self-doubt and anxiety.
So fame isn't the cure-all.
Exactly. In fact, it amplifies some problems. She feels pressure to live up to expectations.
Right.
And she has to navigate this new world of fame.
That sounds incredibly layered.
It is. And the way the novel within the novel reflects her journey is, just brilliant.
But don't you think the metaphor might be a bit heavy-handed?
Well, I think it works because it's grounded in her personal experience. It's authentic and resonates with anyone who's felt like an outsider.
Fair point. And the cultural aspects?
They're woven throughout. Her Nigerian heritage, the family expectations, the clash between tradition and individuality.
Right.
It's all there.
That adds another layer, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's not just about her personal struggle, but also about navigating cultural identity.
I'm sold. I need to finish reading it.
You won't regret it. It's one of those stories that stays with you.
Book 6, Presumed Guilty by Scott Turow. The novel, Presumed Guilty, follows a former judge as he defends his son, Aaron, who is accused of murdering his ex-girlfriend, May. Let's bring to light what Conrad has to tell Georgina about this marvelous brand new book.
Today we're diving into Scott Turow's upcoming legal thriller, Presumed
exciting.
Guilty. Let's jump right in.
I've heard whispers about this one. What's the main premise?
So, get this. It's about a retired judge named Rusty Sabich who gets pulled back into the legal fray when his stepson becomes embroiled in a mysterious case.
Wow.
It's a fascinating mix of family drama and courtroom tension.
That sounds intense. Does it tie back to his earlier works?
Exactly. Rusty Sabich is actually the protagonist from Turow's debut novel, Presumed Innocent. It's like bringing his story full circle, but with new twists.
That's brilliant. So, what's going on with Rusty's stepson?
Well, Aaron, his stepson, disappears after a tumultuous relationship with his girlfriend, May. When May goes missing, all eyes turn to Aaron, and Rusty has to navigate the murky waters of suspicion and legal peril.
Oh man, family and legal troubles intertwined. That's classic Turow.
Absolutely. And the tension is palpable. Rusty finds himself torn between protecting his family and upholding the law.
Right.
It's a real moral quandary.
It's like he's walking a tightrope.
Exactly. And what's more, the backdrop of the small town adds another layer. Everyone knows everyone, and secrets are hard to keep. The community dynamics play a big role.
I bet that amplifies the suspense. Small towns can be so claustrophobic,
Totally. And the way Turow writes, you feel that pressure closing in. It's not just about the legal case, but also about personal histories and grudges resurfacing.
Speaking of grudges, how does Rusty's past come into play?
Well, his own history with the law and previous controversies make it harder for him to defend Aaron without bias. It's like his past is haunting him.
That adds so much depth to the character. It's not just a straightforward legal battle.
Exactly. It's layered. And there's this underlying question of how far someone will go to protect their family. It's compelling stuff.
It really makes you think about morality and justice.
Yes. And Turow doesn't shy away from those gray areas. He delves right into them, making you question what's right and wrong.
So, any standout moments that grabbed you?
There are a few, but without giving too much away, there's a scene where Rusty confronts Aaron after May's disappearance. The tension is so thick, you can cut it with a knife.
Sounds gripping. I can't wait to read that.
And the legal proceedings are intricate, as always, with Turow. He really knows how to make courtroom scenes riveting. You feel like you're right there in the courtroom.
He's a master at that. Do you think this book will resonate with longtime fans?
Oh, absolutely. It has all the elements that made his earlier work so compelling, but with fresh perspectives.
That's great.
New readers will enjoy it too.
It's amazing how he keeps his stories both timely and timeless.
I couldn't agree more. He tackles contemporary issues while exploring universal themes.
Yes.
It's a testament to his skill as a storyteller.
So, when's the release date again?
It's slated for January 2025, so mark your calendar. It's definitely a must-read to kick off the year.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving us the inside scoop.
My pleasure. I can't wait for everyone to read it and dive into the discussions it'll spark. It's going to be exciting.
Definitely. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Until next time.
And there you have it, 6 incredible books by 6 iconic authors. Book 1, Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. A writer, Grady, is manipulated by his agent into going to a remote island where he is forced to write a new book. While there, he discovers secrets about his missing wife and the island's inhabitants, and he is ultimately trapped there. He discovers his wife is on the island, but has lost her memory and has a new life. He learns the island is a refuge for women who have been wronged by the world and that his new book will be used to generate income for the island. Book 2, The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. Darby, who is turning 30, returns to his hometown of Oak Falls and begins traveling back in time to 2009 and the In-Between Bookstore where he worked as a teen. While there, he interacts with his younger self and tries to change the past, especially his relationship with his best friend Michael. He also seeks to understand his identity and struggles to accept his present life. Book 3, We Lived on the Horizon by Erika Swyler. In the walled city of Bulwark, a house system named Nyx gains a body and becomes more human as they assist Nnedi, a surgeon. As the city's system, Parallax, begins to break down, Nyx must leave with Norton, a body martyr. They carry the history of the city and its people, seeking a new place. Book 4, Frankie by Graham Norton. Frankie follows the life of Frances Frankie Howe, an Irish woman who experiences heartbreak and upheaval in Ireland before moving to London. There, she finds work and friendship before moving to New York, where she becomes a successful chef. She builds a life, finds love, and eventually loses it before returning to London later in life. Book 5, Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. Death of the Author centers on Zelu, a paraplegic writer who finds unexpected success with her novel about robots and AIs. She grapples with sudden fame, her family's lack of understanding, and the complexities of her creative work when a film adaptation distorts her vision. Ultimately, Zelu must redefine her relationship to her work and her identity. Book 6, Presumed Guilty by Scott Turow. Presumed Guilty is a work of fiction about a former judge, Rusty Sabich, who defends his son, Aaron Housley, against murder charges. Aaron is accused of killing his ex-girlfriend, May Potter, and the evidence seems stacked against him. The novel follows the legal proceedings as Rusty tries to prove Aaron's innocence. The story also includes Rusty's relationships with his fiancée, Bea, and his longtime friend, Manzi Potter, who is May's grandfather. Have you read any? If so, drop a comment below and let us know what you thought. And if you haven't, do they sound like a must-read for you? If you enjoyed today's deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more book deep dives, and share this video with your fellow book lovers.
Today, we're diving into some exciting new book releases that I can't wait to share with you. Let's jump right in.
Absolutely, I'm all ears. What's first on your list?
So, first up is Babylonia by Costanza Casati. It's, this gripping historical fiction set in ancient Assyria, centering on Semiramis, an orphan who rises to become queen.
Oh, fascinating.
She navigates a brutal world where you literally have to kill to be king, or queen in her case.
That sounds intense. How does she manage to climb the ranks in such a ruthless society?
Well, she meets a young representative of the new Assyrian king, and a prophecy unfolds that puts her at the center of everything. Instead of accepting her fate, she trains in war and diplomacy.
Right, taking control of her destiny.
It's a tale of power, desire, love, and betrayal as she maneuvers through a court of vipers.
Love a strong female lead who takes charge. Definitely adding that to my reading list. What's next?
The Big Empty by Robert Crace. It's an Elvis Cole and Joe Pike novel. Tracy Beller doesn't believe her father abandoned her years ago, so she hires Elvis to find out what really happened.
Oh, Elvis Cole is back!
Yes. The investigation leads them into a hidden world of danger and evil.
Crace always delivers on suspense. Can't wait to check that out.
Then there's The Business Trip by Jessie Garcia. Two women, Stephanie and Jasmine, don't know each other, but end up on the same plane. After a few days, they send identical strange messages about the same man, and then they both vanish.
That's creepy.
Right? It begs the question, who is Trent McCarthy, and what happened to these women?
Do you think it's a coincidence or something more sinister?
Definitely something more sinister. It's a psychological thriller that'll keep you on edge.
Yikes.
It's all about trust and the dangers lurking beneath the surface.
I'm hooked already. Any other recommendations?
Yes. Clever Little Thing by Helena Eklund. Charlotte's daughter Stella starts mimicking their deceased babysitter's personality. The accent, phrases, even craving foods she never liked before. Exactly. Charlotte suspects that Blanca, the babysitter, is somehow influencing Stella from beyond the grave.
Do you think it's supernatural or psychological?
The lines blur, making you question what's real and what's imagined. Plus, her husband thinks it's all in her head, adding to the tension.
Sounds like a gripping read. What else caught your eye?
Isaac's Song by Daniel Black. It's about Isaac, who grew up suppressing his artistic side due to his father's expectations. In late 80s Chicago, he finally starts embracing who he is, but the AIDS crisis and social upheaval shatter his joy. It's a powerful story of self-discovery and confronting inherited trauma.
Do you think it handles those themes effectively without overwhelming the reader?
Absolutely. It's profound yet accessible, inviting deep reflection without being too heavy.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's definitely a meaningful read.
Any lighter reads or perhaps a good romance?
For sure. Once Smitten, Twice Shy by Chloe Lisa is a delightful romantic comedy. Juliet has sworn off love, but then she meets Will, who needs to learn about romance for, personal reasons. They agree to practice romance together, but real feelings start to develop.
Classic setup. Does it offer a fresh take on the trope?
Definitely. Lisa's storytelling is inclusive and heartfelt, bringing depth to the characters. It's charming and engaging.
Love that. Adding that to my list. Any final recommendations?
One more, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Set in 1970, it follows Fern, a pregnant teen sent to a home for unwed mothers. She discovers an occult book, and the girls start tapping into powers they never knew they had. It's about empowerment,
that's intriguing,
but with a dark, haunting twist.
Hendrix always does a great job blending horror with social commentary. Do you think this one lives up to that reputation?
Absolutely. It tackles heavy themes while keeping you on the edge of your seat. It's a haunting and thought-provoking read.
Sounds perfect for my next book club pick.
Exactly. So many great books to explore this week.
Thanks for sharing these. My reading stack just got a lot taller.
Happy to help. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on them.
Don't forget that full comprehensive reviews are available from our free 100 science fiction and fantasy novels you should have read. See the link in the description below to grab your copy today. And until next time on Deep Dive with Smart Bookworms, keep reading, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next one.